Hey guys, Ciaran here. This is a short video put together previewing the planned December Central Otago 4x4 trip. I was planning to have this ready weeks ago, but things have been a wee bit chaotic, and apologies for my voice also, it was a big weekend. Day 1, meeting in Dunedin, leaving from St Kilda at 8am sharp. We travelled 60 kilometres on State Highway 87 to Clark's Junction. From here our trip begins on the old Dunstan Trail 1 as we climb up the mighty Rock and Pillar Ranges. Created during the Central Otago gold rush of the 1860s, this historic track was the shortest route from Dunedin City to the goldfields around Clyde and Dunstan areas. Known at times as the Mountain Track, it was a dangerous route which claimed numerous lives. Climbing up and past Loganburn Reservoir, formerly known as the Great Moss Swamp, before taking a detour along the length of the Rock and Pillar Ranges, we head in search of two huts. The first being an historic alpine hut grandly named Big Hut. Built and opened in 1946, the 70-bunk ski lodge near the summit of the Rock and Pillar Ranges was a major undertaking. Some 30 tonnes of building materials were hauled by crawler tractor and trailer 3,200 feet up the eastern face. This is the second of 3 post-World War II era huts that ski clubs built on the range. Continuing on, we pass the summit at 1,450 feet above sea level towards the second destination, Leaning Hut. Although due to conflicting ownership rights between DOC, DCC and the Leaning Lodge Trust we cannot enter the hut, it's still a rare opportunity to venture to a little known and isolated point from which we can enjoy the view and a coffee break. Travelling back, we rejoin the old Dunstan Trail, where we begin to descend down to Peirau, known during the gold rush era as the Sticks. From above you get a spectacular view of the Maniatoto Plains. Turning left, we follow along the upper Taieri Plains to a special spot for lunch and a planned tour of sorts at the Lammermoor station. Note, it is important that we are here by 1:30 p.m. After some festivities, we're back on the track, travelling north along Lynburn Runs Road to the beginning of the iconic Serpentine track. Be warned, this track has several highly technical Grade 5 sections and if not driven well, can inevitably cause panel damage to vehicles. Care must be taken through sections of this formidable road as there are numerous boggy sections with deep water. Getting stuck is inevitable, so good recovery gear is essential. Ultimately, we make it to the Serpentine Church where a much needed break can be taken. Situated at over 1,000 metres above sea level, the Serpentine Church was the most elevated in New Zealand when it opened in 1873. Today, it remains the only remnant of a once bustling village, and at the time had a peak population of around 150 Chinese and 80 Europeans. Much of the town's rich heritage is now hidden beneath barren tussock land. From here we travel back south towards Lake Onslow Road, probably one of the most challenging sections of the weekend's journey. Choosing the right line through here is paramount, and if not done wisely, a novice driver can end up with wet shoes inside the cab. A short trip, 700 metres along the Lake Onslow Road, sees us on the final section of the day's journey. Turning right towards 2 major water reserves, the Greenland and Maniburn reservoirs, in search of a fully restored mining water wheel and a derelict gold mine. Previously undriven, this section of track may prove to be a challenge given the area and an unfamiliar road. Hopefully there'll be no obstacles along the way. The Greenland and Maniburn are man-made water reservoirs completed in 1914. Parts are incredibly shallow and in winter often freeze, providing one of the largest sections of ice to skate in New Zealand at over 6 kilometres. This remote region will provide some great picturesque scenes as we travel out towards Moa Creek in the Ida Valley, before our final climb up and over Raggedy Range to our final stop for the night at the historical Omakau Commercial Hotel. Accommodation has been booked for all here, but there is options for camping alongside the Manuherikia River for those that are keen. Day 2 sees us heading southwest towards Alexandra for the next stage of the journey. The first track for the day sees us up Fraser's Road to the remarkable Fraser's Dam, the Niagara Falls of Central Otago, both stunning and spectacular when in full flow. Situated west of Alexandra, it was built in 1935 to provide farm irrigation. Standing at 32 metres high and 137 metres in length, it's an impressive sight when in full flow, so it's best to get here before the summer heat dries the dam up. From here we backtrack, potentially down a side track to Earnscleugh. This will be access dependent, at the moment unknown. Starting from the lower Earnscleugh River, we travel up Hawksburn Road, also known to the locals as the Old Pylon Track. This travels up and along the back of the Kenmure Mountains to Bannockburn, where we find ourselves at the historic Bannockburn Hotel for a cold beer and an optional lunch. After a break, we begin the second stage of Day 2's adventure, beginning a long climb up through the old gold mining area of Carricktown in search of a piece of gold mining history. A sobering reminder of shifting fortunes in the Carrick Range. Standing alone is the young Australian water wheel, the second largest water wheel in the southern hemisphere, second only to the old mill wheel in Oamaru. Weighing in at 35 tonnes and standing 8 metres in diameter, this spectacular part of Central Otago's history was built in 1864 and is a must-see. Progressing east of the Remarkables, we continue to climb the Grade 3 track towards the Nevis Road, which at 1300 metres is New Zealand's highest public road in search of the Old Woman Hut, another desolate spot for some epic scenery and a quick stop. Pushing on, we continue the longest section of the day's journey, climbing along Duffer's Saddle towards the Old Woman Range. Parts of this track are extremely muddy and challenging and guaranteed to get vehicles dirty. Eventually we end up at a picture point, the Obelisk. Standing at 26.6 metres high, this natural wonder standing alone is a sight to behold, overlooking Alexandria and the Central Otago Basin. From here, we travel along the top of the Old Man Range, taking a detour down a challenging and rutted section of track to Potter's Hut for some epic photography opportunities. This schist stone boundary hut has some impressive history on the walls and is a real success to sign the visitor's book and say you've been here. Finally, depending on time, there are a few options to continue along the top of the Old Man Range, eventually dropping down to Roxburgh and Miller's Flat. The first option, being a peat bog section of track, could prove to be challenging from the beginning and will take us down to Coal Creek, Roxburgh, overlooking the Roxburgh Dam. The second option and final section of the track will take us to the end of the Old Man Range and down Mount Benja Road, where we conclude our journey before a late return trip home. I anticipate this trip to be one of the best for 2020 and look forward to seeing you on the track. It's going to be an epic one. See you out there. Bye.